Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Marley, Kayden here in Chicago alongside Sam Vadas at the New York Stock Exchange. We'd like to close out today's show with some thoughts on the session, some of the big stories. Of course, our big winner on the day was Intel after announcing their new deal with Nvidia. That was our top story, sending Intel to the top of the best performers on the S&P, closing out the day up about 23%. Second best performer on the day, Synopsys, a long-term partner of Intel, also moving higher on this news that Nvidia and Intel will co-develop some chips for PCs and data centers in this surprise move that will help prop up Intel, which has been struggling of late. They'll be developing these new products, and also this move to the upside on paper has increased the government's investment in Intel. Its 10% stake now valued at about $14 billion with this move to the upside. Also a very big day for quantum computing today. Palantir, one of the first news pieces we got today, plans to invest 1.5 billion pounds in the UK. They've won a deal with the UK Ministry of Defence to expand the use of their AI software. They'll also make the UK its European headquarters for defence, creating hundreds of new jobs there and developing AI-powered capabilities for the military in the UK. IonQ making headlines as well, continuing its romp higher on news that it signed a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Department of Energy to advance the development and deployment of quantum technologies in space. So this deal will have IonQ exploring applications in space, including the creation and execution of an orbital demonstration of quantum secure communications using its satellite platform called Capella. And shares of Rigetti Computing, which is a much smaller company than these other two, also had big news, jumping 17% after landing a contract with the Air Force Research Laboratory. The nearly $6 million contract it signed, which obviously is considerably smaller than the others we just mentioned, but it saw Rigetti's market cap swell by about $250 million. So big day of headlines in the quantum computing space, Sam, but what caught your eye during the session today?
Well, obviously the small caps, the Russell 2000, really outperforming today, Marley. Why? Because small caps love those rate cuts. We saw a nice pop, obviously, after that decision. We spoke about that yesterday, and then they continued to hold on to those gains today, and we did see a record close. But the big question now, Marley, is can they keep the momentum going? Well, the Fed has put 3 more rate cuts into the system on the table for now, so let's see how the data holds up. And speaking of the data, obviously, just before we opened the session today, we did get 2 encouraging prints out this morning. The jobless claims came in at 231,000, which was a much better number than last week, and perhaps some relief for the labour market right now. We also got the Philly Fed, which saw a big jump in manufacturing, and this is really a sentiment-based survey. It's about how companies feel right now, but it's a huge difference from that negative reading that we had seen last week. And obviously the 10-year yield is higher today, so it does seem that sell the news story that some had been talking about is very much playing out in the bond market right now. But heading into tomorrow, Marley, what will you be looking out for?
And this one may be a surprise to you, Sam, and often thought of as a non-event, but San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly is speaking, and we've seen a lot of these Fed speeches of late be headline making. And so I think it will be very interesting to get this commentary in the wake of the Fed rate cut decision and some of the division between the dot plot and what's expected going forward. So I'll be very curious to hear what she has to say. In the past, she has been outspoken about tariff impacts and focusing on inflation, saying she doesn't believe it's fully realized. So I think that perspective will be interesting and seeing how much weight is given to it. How about you, Sam?
Well, obviously, we're going to be looking at the reaction to what we just got from FedEx. It was a very strong quarter, as we heard. We have seen the shares popping after the close. And so let's see if that continues, particularly as we get some more details from the accompanying commentary from that earnings call. But this is just such an important barometer of the health of the consumer, global shipping, and also what we see from some of these small to medium-sized enterprises as well, businesses. So let's see what the sort of reaction is in the market tomorrow, and if we certainly see some of those that have been moving in sympathy, as you mentioned, Marley, does very much continue, and we see that sustained rally. We're also obviously going to be watching out for Lennar, because we're going to be getting that report card today as well. It did close out the session flat as a pancake, and I suppose because investors are really waiting for direction from those numbers. A really interesting time for those in the home building industry, obviously, with those rates coming down. but also very challenging when you look at sort of the struggling housing market at the moment with some of the supply and demand that's been going on. Marley, I'll send things back over to you.
Thanks so much, Sam. And that's going to do it for Market on Close today.